In today's video, I'm going to show you how to fill the outline letter A. I'm using Canson Meton paper, and I'm just going to eyeball maybe about there. I know some of you might want to have measurements, but really you can adjust your coils to be fitting any area that you wish. So let's get started on some coiling methods here. I tend to like to pre-soften my strip. And do you see how I was holding it here? This area here is kind of straight, so I'm going to also soften that side so all of it gets the same treatment. And the more you coil something, the more you soften a strip, it'll get more and more coiled. So I'm going to bring the edge of the strip down to the end of my tool and press into my fingers. And I'm not rolling the tool, I'm not moving this hand at all. All I'm doing is kind of rolling this thumb as I roll this coil along. Now, this is kind of typical for a seam-sided scroll that is standardly shown in quilling literature. I tend to like to have my coils a little bit more open. So I'm going to uncoil them to about, I'm going to leave the innermost coils alone and then re-ravel it up by hand. And you see what I'm doing here is making it almost like like a conch shell. It's more, to me, it's a more dynamic shape, more airy. So let's see how that's fitting in the card here. So I'm just sensing a bit of tension here, so I'm going to recoil this one a little bit tighter. And that's what I mean about not really needing to know your measurements. If something's a little too long, I'll just snip it off if I need to. Too short, that's okay. Save the piece and recoil a new one and put it somewhere else in your piece. Okay, I'm going to grab a light green this time, and again just arbitrarily eyeballing something that feels right. And I know in the beginning when you're starting quilling, you're kind of wondering, you don't know what feels right. That's okay, just keep playing and you will get the sense of it soon enough. Also, for beginners, a lot of you might have the slotted tool and feel that the needle tool is only for advanced people, but actually I've taught people using toothpicks, so really, and they were just fine. So don't let that stigma or that label stop you from actually trying a needle tool. I prefer the needle tool because it doesn't leave that crimp in the inside. So I'm feeling like there's too much bunching going on here, so I'm just going to trim off some excess and recoil it out, make it open and airy. So I feel like giving this side a bit of a scroll. Let's see how that's going to fit. I once taught a class where a woman was struggling to use the needle tool because she had been using what they called the basic slotted tool for years, and she was saying that no matter how much she pushed against her finger, the paper was not wrapping it around the tool. So I told her, lick your finger, and she said, "What?" I go, "Yeah, trust me, just lick your finger, and that extra moisture will not only soften the paper, but provide some friction, and it will gather around the tool." And so she tried it, and she was just amazed to finally be able to use the needle tool. So I feel like making a coil come outside the letter now. And if you ever feel, do you see that slight kink right there? It's really easy to get rid of it. You just kind of soften it gently, and there you go. You have a smoother arc. So I guess I'm just going to cut that off later on, but for now, because nothing is glued down, I can still move things around if I want to change the composition or something. When I do go to glue these coils down, I'm not going to do it with the card folded. I'm going to unfold the card because that little extra pocket of air is going to not give you a like a strong surface to glue on. So I suggest unfolding your card so it's not so bouncy. Okay? Now that my strips are ready, let's get started with gluing. I'm going to be using Aleene's Original Tacky Glue and run a bead of glue down this piece of plastic card. I can actually use another hard piece of card here to smear the glue. I want to smear it quite thin because I want to make sure I don't get glue blobs along the sides. I'm going to set these coils aside for now. And set this one in place first. I'm going to make sure to push down on the innermost coils because I find sometimes there's just a slight hint of a tornado that goes on in there. I'm going to make sure all the glue contacts those areas. So before I glue something, I do tend to test it in its place first and see exactly where I want to place it. Do I want this coil to be sitting that against that side or this side? So I'll contemplate it before I actually set it down. And it's funny how even though sometimes you think something's going to fit, you just kind of have to adjust. If by the time you glue it, it becomes something different. It's okay. That's why quilling is so forgiving. And then because there's no glue on these edges, there's to me a little gap of air in there. So sometimes what I'll do is just run a little bit of glue just along that side and use the tweezers to pinch that together, and it'll make it a much more solid, clean looking join. Subtle, but there. So this is the one I want to come out of the letter, so I'm just going to use my fingers to mark that area. And because this seam here will be touching there, I'm going to touch that end into my glue as well. Now, because I'm videotaping, I'm not actually as close to my work as I physically usually am, so I'm sure you'll be taking a bit more care with your work than I am with mine. Now at this point, because it's been drying here, there's likely a skin on that glue, so I'm just going to run a new bead of glue down, because there's nothing worse than seeing congealed glue on your piece. And again, I'm going to smear it. Sometimes a bit of a race against time before it sets, right? Now, I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually not on the surface of my card, so I still have time. I can adjust this join to visually align with that one that I cut it from. And then from here I can decide to add some more coils in there, but these are the main strokes that I wanted to put down first, and you can continue adding them. I actually prefer to have my card a little open, a little airier, because then that way I just enjoy the coils for what they are.